watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Live at 4. It's a little milder out there. It feels really good, but it's almost like a cruel joke.
We have tomorrow to look forward to. I'm wearing a light sweater, but then this weekend, no thank you.
Nope. Blaze is out on the weather patio with the details. Boy, it's going to be a wild swing the next couple days.
That is correct. Yeah, we kind of expect these swings closer to maybe beginning spring when the jet is moving its way further north for summer, but we're still in the heart of winter, and we're going to get a taste of early spring. Back into the upper 30s to low 40s will go for your Friday, and then we are set to cool on down very quickly. That's why we have alert day conditions Sunday through Tuesday. Morning wind chills could be anywhere between 25 to 30, 35 degrees below zero, especially Monday and Tuesday morning. Tuesday continues to look like the coldest morning over that alert day time frame from Sunday through Monday. So here's a look at what it may feel like waking up on Monday morning, anywhere between 20 to 25, 30 degrees below zero, and then even colder as we go into your Tuesday. Stay with News 3 Now. We'll keep you updated should cold weather alerts be issued. Those are replacing wind chill alerts, and if any schools should be delayed because of those cold temperatures in the morning, making it maybe a little bit unsafe for kids. In contrast, though, we are about 10 to 20 degrees warmer than the same time yesterday. We got into those 30s, and we're still there now. It's 36 in Madison, 37 in Boscobel, 36 in Camp Douglas, 35 in the Dells. We did a little bit of melting here outside the studio. The snow, not as apparent, and we're going to do even more melting as we go into your Friday. We're going to settle into the 20s tonight and actually climb in temperatures all throughout the night because we got to get into those 40s on your Friday. We'll track that out, and if there's any snow in the extended forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Blaze, thank you. First at 4, some sad news. It came as a shock to a lot of people today as Wisconsinites are mourning a baseball icon.
Bob Uecker died this morning after battling lung cancer for more than a year. He was 90 years old. Milwaukee native, the man known as Mr. Baseball, served as an announcer for the Brewers for decades. He signed his first professional contract with the Braves and eventually reached the majors, where he played 6 seasons.
I don't know what I would do, with no more. If I think of no more baseball for me, I don't know what that would be like.
It's hard to imagine. A statement from the Brewers reads in part, quote, "Saying goodbye to Bob shakes us all. He was so much more than a Milwaukee Brewers icon. He was a national treasure. We're left with a giant void in our hearts, but also remember the laughter and the joy he brought us."
And we also have a statement from Governor Tony Evers. It reads in part, "For more than 50 years, Bob brought the magic of the ballpark to life for so many. And I am sure I speak for Brewers fans everywhere when I say we gladly would have had him for 50 more.
And later this hour, on Live at 4, we're going to talk to Craig Kashan from the broadcast team about his memories of Bob Uecker. That's coming up. In other news, the state's Department of Health Services is again asking Wisconsinites to make sure that our families are vaccinated as it confirms the first child death from flu in the 2024-25 season. A statement from DHS State Health Officer Paula Tran reads in part, quote, "If you or your loved ones have not received your flu or COVID vaccine yet this season, it is not too late. Vaccines are safe, effective, and save lives." The latest data on respiratory viruses in our state shows overall activity is high. COVID, the flu, and RSV are all increasing. This flu season, only 32% of Wisconsinites have gotten their flu vaccines. In Dane County, that percentage is 43%. To find a vaccination site near you, head to vaccines.gov.
At the state capitol today, the Wisconsin Supreme Court heard a significant separations of powers case.
In a fight between the Democratic governor and Republican legislature, who wins? Political reporter Will Keneally has that answer.
Short answer, it's complicated, but here's the question. The state agency that licenses therapists wants to ban the use of conversion therapy targeting LGBTQ Wisconsinites. Now, that's a rule that all therapists in Wisconsin would have to follow. Now, is that just a requirement for a therapy license, or is it really more a law? And should the state legislature get to weigh in on that law? Now, that brought us to today's arguments.
Nowhere do I see that the people ever consented to being governed by an administrative state instead of their elected representatives in the legislature.
So under your interpretation of the statutes, less than a handful of unchecked legislators, 4 people, can shelve a rule that stops therapists from subjecting children to horrors like corrective rape and exorcism.
Now, this is part of a long-standing power struggle between the Republican legislature and Democratic governor. Now, the current state Supreme Court has a liberal majority, so we could expect them to preserve that ability for the state agency to ban conversion therapy.
Thank you, Will. The Madison Metropolitan School District begins work on its facilities after voters approved the largest school referenda in the state. Voters approved 2 different referenda questions in November. The first, $100 million for operational costs.
And the second, $507 million for facilities. Our Ellie LaLiberte shows us where your money will be going.
The $507 million that voters approved to go towards facilities here at MMSD is in phase 1 of the project. MMSD's plan for the taxpayer dollars is to give 10 schools across the district a facelift. That's broken down into 3 different phases, ending in October of 2029. Phase 1 involves completely demolishing and rebuilding 4 schools. The district's director of building services says that MMSD wants to work with the public on what these spaces will provide.
It's not our money, right? It's the taxpayers' money. So we got to make sure we get the value that the taxpayers want, the students for education needs. We give them a building that's safe and it's also sustainable. Whether it's environmentally sustainable and longevity of the school, it's going to be there for 50 to 70 years.
Input sessions for the first 4 schools will take place on March 11th and 12th. The school board is expected to choose its construction management partner at its next meeting on January 27th. Reporting in Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Ellie, thank you. Next on Live at 4, a new report out today from the American Cancer Society.
What it says about the rates of cancer in the U.S. coming up.
California firefighters are getting a much-needed break today from high winds before dangerous conditions are forecast to return next week. Fire officials report little to no fire growth in the past 24 hours, with the exception of the Palisades fire. FEMA disaster recovery centers are helping affected residents who have until March 10th to apply for individual assistance.
The Israeli government will not vote on a ceasefire deal with Hamas until tomorrow at the earliest. The 3-phase deal is supposed to start on Sunday. It would begin with the release of hostages in exchange for Palestinians in Israeli prisons. They struck a deal, but since then, Israeli bombardment has killed at least 83 people in Gaza. That marks the highest daily number of deaths in more than a week.
In Washington, D.C., hearings continue for President-elect Trump's cabinet picks.
Natalie Brand is showing us who senators questioned today on Capitol Hill.
Across 4 Senate hearing rooms, President-elect Trump's cabinet picks for Treasury Secretary, Department of the Interior, the EPA, and Housing and Urban Development testified under oath.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, selected to lead the Environmental Protection Agency, was grilled by Democratic senators on climate change.
I believe that climate change is real.
But Zeldin defended President-elect Trump's past comments on the issue.
I think that he's concerned about the economic costs of some policies where there's a debate and a difference of opinion between parties.
I would respectfully disagree with you. I think he has called it a hoax time and time and time again.
Trump's pick for Interior Secretary, former North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, says there's a risk to the environment and security if America doesn't lead in energy production.
When energy production is restricted in America, it doesn't reduce demand. It just shifts productions to countries like Russia and Iran, whose autocratic leaders not only don't care at all about the environment, but they use their revenues from energy sales to fund wars against us and our allies.
Trump's Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent testified he would support increasing sanctions on Russia over the war in Ukraine.
The hedge fund billionaire also faced tough questions about Trump's plan to cut taxes and implement tariffs.
All through the campaign, we heard that foreign countries were going to pay it. I think that's baloney. It's going to be paid for by workers and small businesses.
The history of tariffs And optimal tariff theory does not support what you're saying.
Former NFL football player who also served in Congress, Scott Turner, nominated to lead HUD, said the country needs millions more homes to address the housing crisis. Natalie Brind, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In more news related to the incoming Trump administration, Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grothman has joined the Department of Government Efficiency Caucus. He serves Wisconsin's 6th district, which includes parts of Portage and Columbia. DOGE will be headed by tech billionaire Elon Musk and former GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy.
Director David Lynch has died. Lynch was known for his unique and surrealistic films and TV shows, including Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks. His first feature film was the cult classic Eraserhead, which he followed up with the commercial hit The Elephant Man. Lynch's family confirmed his death via his official Facebook page, but did not provide a cause. David Lynch was 78 years old.
More younger women in the U.S. are receiving cancer diagnoses. A report released today from the American Cancer Society shows women who are in middle age now have a slightly higher cancer risk than men. Younger women nearly twice as likely to receive a diagnosis as young men. Breast and thyroid cancer are accounting for about half of that. Researchers are still looking into why we're seeing a rise, but many point to a myriad of factors, not just one. The report does offer some hopeful news, though. Cancer survival rates are increasing.
Unemployment claims in the U.S. are increasing. For the week ending January 11th, there were roughly 217,000 initial claims for unemployment insurance. That's 14,000 claims higher than the week before, exceeding many economists' expectations. Analysts say the employment cool down and the lack of job growth is a result of employers holding back on hiring.
Speaking of cool downs, that's what we are looking at for the weekend. Blaze is back with your forecast, Blaze.
That's right. We are going to go from the upper 30s to low 40s on Friday into those teens by Sunday, and then further into those single digits, if not at 0 degrees by Monday and Tuesday of next week. So this is going to be a little bit of a quick taste of spring, and then we are right back into winter. That's why we have alert day conditions for your Sunday through Tuesday, as that's when our temperatures are expected to be anywhere between 20 and 30 degrees below normal. But Friday is looking pretty nice. We're about 15 degrees above normal into those upper 30s to low 40s. We do become a little bit more seasonal as we go into the second half of next week. Not as cold temperatures. We are expecting this Arctic blast to move out of here by about Wednesday. So these temperatures will be nice. If you are not a fan of the cold, we're looking at upper 30s to low 40s all the way north into Black River Falls. And then very quickly, this low pressure system in its cold front is going to essentially open up the Arctic. And a high pressure system, a very strong one, is going to only further bring down this cooler air. By Monday morning, we're at 7 degrees below zero. These are actual air temperatures. By the afternoon, it doesn't feel that much better. Tuesday morning, we are very cold. Tuesday morning, both our air temperatures and our wind chill values are likely going to be their coldest. Watch as this cold air in parts of northwestern Canada and Alaska is replaced by green, and where that cold air goes is overhead. So we're really just taking the cold air from up here and moving it down here to make room for their warm up in parts of Alaska and Canada. But as we go into your Monday afternoon and evening, the really cold temperatures, I mean the very end of this cold air spectrum, is going to be overhead. So waking up Tuesday and Monday night is going to be the coldest temperatures and wind chill values that we are expecting. Watch as anybody here in the purple is at 32 degrees or below, and as that cold front passes, really a lot of the United States is going to be at or below freezing Tuesday morning. And again, anybody in the purple is at least at freezing or below. So this Arctic blast is not just really limited to the Midwest, it is going to be impacting a lot of the United States. What we don't see in this Arctic blast and over the next 7 to 10 days is measurable snow. Our snow chances remain very minimal to none, but again, this is optimal conditions for ice skating, for ice fishing. the lack of snow is just going to continue to keep our ice thick, especially with this little brief warm up. While we're not going to chip away at the ice by any means, it will only further keep it at least on the more safe side for folks venturing out on the ice. But again, remember, no ice is 100% safe. And if you are going to be ice skating or ice fishing, please let somebody know and take the necessary precautions. There was a look at our 10-day forecast from 40 to 15 to 1 to 0. And then we're back into those double digits as we head from Wednesday into that upcoming weekend.
Oh, and that'll feel nice.
Yes.
So today and tomorrow, get the car filled up, get your
no
groceries,
kidding.
get all your errands done.
Fire up that crock
And
pot.
I'm sorry for everybody across Southern Wisconsin. I am sorry about this cool down.
And so hashtag blame Blaze.
Yeah, right.
No. Well, like Blaze said, these warmer days will be gone in a flash, with chilling temperatures starting as early as Sunday.
So to prepare for this big shift, our Merrill Hubbard tells us how to protect people and your pets in the polar vortex.
It won't be long until this warmer day will fade away into a polar vortex. So how do we keep ourselves and our furry friends protected from this winter weekend?
We know it's going to happen, so you want to have your group of clothing ready.
Dr. Harkin from SSM Health says it's time to layer up from head to toe. He recommends people wear dry and breathable first layers and add on clothing that can break the wind chill. If you're going to be outside, he says that 30 minutes is a solid cutoff. While most humans can withstand the winter for this amount of time, pets need to be handled with extra care if they're going to be out in this chill.
Once they start lifting that paw off the ground to show that they're cold, it's time that they've had enough time to go inside.
Here's some of the Humane Society's temperature tips for pets. If it feels like 20, you can take your pet outside for 15 minutes or less. Once it feels like 0 degrees, the time goes down to 5 minutes. The polar vortex is projected to feel like -30 with wind chill. While the weather is comfortable now, by Sunday, pets should stay inside as much as possible. Sapphire and 7 of her siblings are up for adoption at the Dane County Humane Society. And if you want more tips for how to protect your pets in this winter chill, you can visit channel3000.com. Reporting in Madison, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Sapphire was a big hit in the newsroom today.
She is so sweet. Well, still ahead on Live at 4, it's been 1 month since the ALCS shooting.
We'll hear from a Madison lawmaker about what she wants to see as part of the state's response to gun violence. That's when Live at 4 continues.
It's been exactly 1 month since the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison.
Earlier this week, you may recall Governor Evers announced the creation of the first statewide Office of Violence Prevention to fight gun violence and crime in the state. The executive order is based on legislation that Madison Representative Sheila Stubbs first introduced in the Assembly in 2021. Earlier today, I spoke with Representative Stubbs about what it will mean for Dane County.
First and foremost, we will be connecting the dots between state and local government agencies. Local government agencies include law enforcement agencies, and this is going to ensure that, in general, overall, the government approach to violence prevention happens. It's also going to support and provide technical assistance to local violence prevention and intervention efforts. There are so many community navigators or volunteers that's doing this work. And what is really nice about creating this office, there will be grant opportunities. So imagine individuals that have been doing this work with no funding. Imagine how just a small amount of funding will help their agencies and our community. This department is also going to promote evidence-based community violence intervention efforts, which is going to be best practices amongst our stakeholders. I think that's important if we're going to invest our dollars. We want to know what is the best practice with that work. And it's going to center the voices of victims and survivors. And I think that is the underlying issues. When we know there are families that have been impacted with violence, their voices are the loudest voices at the table, as well as those survivors.
Well, it's interesting because state polls have repeatedly shown that there is a lot of support public support for a variety of gun control measures. But as you well know, the legislature has already rejected a number of them, including universal background checks. And funding for this office is only secured for 2 years. So on the 1-month anniversary of the ALCS shooting, do you think this tragedy locally is going to be a game changer? Is it going to change hearts and minds, if you will, to demonstrate to lawmakers why they need to take action?
Thank you for that really good question. Let me start off by saying my hearts and my prayers continue to go out to the families and the victims and all those that have been impacted by the shooting, including the community. But I think it's important to say no one should ever experience a mass shooting. No community wants it. No school district, no family wants it. And it is preventable. And what this office is going to do is give us the metrics on how to prevent this possibly happening again. I hope that because the state of Wisconsin is going to be looked at from a national perspective, that we do everything we can do, the fund, the school of safety, to make sure that we're able to get those fundings to the school districts, to law enforcement, to not-for-profits, to help support violence reduction initiatives. And I want you to know firsthand, as a representative, I'm going to do everything I can do to work bipartisan in this building to make sure this community is never left behind.
Representative Sheila Stubbs, continued success on your important work. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you for this interview.
And when we're back, how schools tell us whether a threat is credible or not.
Our Tanisha Shaw speaks with a local law enforcement official to find out.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Let's take a look outside today. We lost the sun. It's kind of a gray, gloomy day, but it does feel milder. We're getting a little bit of a reprieve. Your face doesn't hurt when you walk out the door today, but don't let Friday fool you. Big changes are on the way. Blaze is out on the patio, enjoying it while you can, right, Blaze, before you have to come back in?
Yeah, I mean, if you are not a fan of the cold that we just got out of, you are not going to like what is. After we climb into the 40s tomorrow, we are set to be underneath some very cold temperatures and wind chills, which is why we have alert day conditions issued for Sunday through Tuesday. We began to add those days last week, and as we get closer to this Arctic blast, we've continued to see that confidence that Sunday through Tuesday especially are going to be very cold. Wind chill values are going to be anywhere between 15 to 20, 25, if not 30 to 35 degrees below zero as we go Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday. Tuesday morning especially continues to look as though it will be the coldest, not only in terms of actual air temperatures, but also for wind chill values as well. So stay with News 3 Now. We will keep you updated should any cold weather alerts be issued or any schools being delayed because of that cold. In contrast, we were much warmer than where we were 24 hours ago, and we're going to be warmer tomorrow than where we were today. So if you like today, tomorrow we're expected to be even warmer into those upper 30s to low 40s for a lot of southern Wisconsin. Right now we're hanging out in those low to mid 30s. We'll eventually dip into those 20s tonight, but temperatures climb throughout the overnight hours. We're going to take a look at some of the coldest wind chills southern Wisconsin has seen and compare that to what we will experience and talk about any snow chances in the full forecast.
Thanks, Blaze. Well, today marks 1 month since a deadly shooting at Abundant Life Christian School.
The shooting left 42-year-old teacher Erin Michelle West and 14-year-old student Ruby Patricia Vergara dead. Of the 6 injured, 2 remain in the hospital. UW Health said Tuesday the victims are now considered to be in good condition.
School threats continue to be an issue across the country. This week, we've reported on 2 school threats, both deemed not credible.
Our Tanisha Shaw spoke to a law enforcement expert on how schools find out if a threat is legitimate.
Online school threats have become a trend. It's been a month since the deadly school shooting at Abundant Life Christian School, and parents are on high alert.
When it hits home, as it did locally,
I think there's a heightened sense of awareness.
Online threats have become hard to track, often spreading across several different social media apps like Instagram, TikTok, X, and more.
A student or a younger person may not know how to get their expressions of frustration or sometimes anger out. So they might use social media as a way of expressing themselves. And then that could easily be perceived as a threat and should be perceived as a threat.
This week, a Monona Grove student posted guns on social media. Tuesday, Beaver Dam High School responded to a burn list posted by a student. Both situations were classified as not credible. Brian Landers is a law enforcement expert. He said when schools are notified of any threats, staff must contact law enforcement first.
They're going to put plans in place that they presumably have already discussed and trained with the school districts, which could be potential lockdowns, may mean evacuations, may mean more officers present at the school.
After that, an investigation begins.
Try to identify the source of the threats and then try to get that person into physical custody as quickly as possible to begin an interrogation process.
Reporting in Madison, Tanasia Shaw, News 3 Now.
And to Wall Street now, where U.S. stock indices are drifting. The Dow dropped 68 points, the Nasdaq down 173, and the S&P 500 virtually unchanged, losing 13. Wisconsin Senate and Assembly Democrats have laid out their legislative plan for the year, focusing on topics they say their constituents are immediately concerned about.
Arman Rahman breaks down the key parts of the bill package and how Democrats hope to get it done.
Wisconsin Democrats are calling the 2025 legislative bill package Lowering Costs, Improving Lives. In it, they've outlined methods they say will lower prescription drug costs, make housing more affordable, and offer healthy school meals to all students. Let's start with that part of the plan. Right now, schools that participate in national programs for free or reduced breakfasts and lunch get a reimbursement from the federal government based on need. In Wisconsin, the state provides up to 15 cents per breakfast to schools and will partially match what the government gives for lunches for low-income children. In this new bill, if a Wisconsin school participates in those federal programs and provides one completely free breakfast and lunch to any student that requests it regardless of their financial situation, the state would offer to foot the rest of the cost for lunches and breakfast served.
As a single mom of 2 school-aged children, I can personally speak to the significance of this bill. Like many Wisconsin families, I feel the strain of rising costs everywhere. We have kids who qualify for free meals who aren't taking them because they're afraid someone will figure out that they're low income. According to the USDA, on average, a cost of a school meal is about $3.85. So lawmakers say this bill will save a Wisconsin family about $150 a month. I'll have a complete breakdown of the rest of the package and how optimistic Democrats feel about Republican support tonight at 6.
All right, Armand, thank you. Coming up on Live at 4, our Josh Spreiter is back.
Woo! And he's already working for the weekend, bringing you 3 things you and your family can do in the 608. It's Thursday afternoon, Friday Eve, if you will.
That's right, Little Friday, as they say on the morning show.
So this means we are working for the weekend in the 608.
Josh Spreiter is back with what you can do with your family this weekend in the 608.
I have 3 things for you to do this weekend in the 608. Winter activities are in full swing, and that's what leads us off today. First up, the Edgewater Ice Rink is now open for all this season, and the views of Madison don't get any better than this. The cold weather we've had has been great for ice making. The Edgewater Ice Rink is now open Wednesdays through Fridays. You can look at specific times to get tickets, along with skate rental options on their website. If you're looking for an indoor event, you can check out the Madison Roller Derby at the Alliant Energy Center on Saturday. They'll have a doubleheader, which will feature the home team and interleague play at the arena. Doors open at 4, the first whistle is at 5, and you can get your tickets now by going to the Madison Roller Derby website. Finally, don't forget to support your local farmers for the late winter Dane County Farmers Market. This is at Garver Feed Mill on Saturday morning. Support 50 of your favorite farmers, cheesemakers, and bakers from 8 to noon. The market runs each Saturday through April 5th. For more ideas this weekend in the 608, just go to channel3000.com. In the 608, I'm Josh Spreiter, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Josh, and welcome back. Good to have Josh back. The Badger men's basketball team has cracked the top 25 rankings, but they say they're not worried about the number in front of their name.
The Badgers are off to a 13-3 start and take on the Ohio State Buckeyes tonight. Guard Kamari McGee joins Wisconsin Huddle this week. The senior started for the first time in a Badger uniform last week against Minnesota. In 16 games so far, 5 different Badgers have been leading scorers. McGee says rankings are cool and all, and he's glad they're getting recognition, but this team puts each other first.
A lot of people didn't know what to expect because we had lost a lot of guys and brought in a bunch of new guys in, but our togetherness is the secret, if you want to call it that. I mean, there is really no secret, honestly. People see us, we always laughing with each other, giving each other high fives, showing love to each other. So, it's always, that's the biggest thing with teams nowadays in the world of college basketball, is the togetherness.
You can tune into the Wisconsin Huddle this Friday right after News 3 Now at 6.
When we come back, we're honoring the life of the man known as Mr. Baseball.
A look at the legacy of Wisconsin baseball legend Bob Uecker. On the next Live at 4, we're just days away from a potential ban on TikTok.
We'll talk to an expert on the topic about how the Supreme Court could change that. We are taking a live look tonight. This is AmFam Field in Milwaukee, home of the Milwaukee Brewers.
And Milwaukee Brewers radio broadcasts will sadly never sound the same.
Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker, the voice of the team on the airwaves for 54 years, has died at the age of 90. What an incredible life. His passing is a profound loss for all baseball fans, but especially those who were lucky enough to work with him. And Craig Kashan is one of those lucky people. He is a member of the Brewers broadcast team. Hi, Craig. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to be with you guys.
I can't imagine what this must be like for you, growing up a Brewers fan, listening to Bob Uecker every day as a kid, and then one day you're actually working next to this national treasure. What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, the dream job came true, and he had a lot to do with that, and he doesn't even know it, just because listening to him, from a kid on up. Just being next to the guy at first was intimidating, to say the least. Nobody's bigger than Bob. There's just no question about it. And you know what? He would never want it that way. He never acted that way. He just enjoyed life so much. You just couldn't help feeling that aura around him. And it was always positive. It was always humorous. And just to be in a spot where I became a friend ended up being the real dream come true for me.
And there he is, soaking it all in. He was more than just an announcer. And I think about all the people in the stadium who went with their grandparents to a game, their parents, a first date. Maybe they took their kids to a Brewers game. And to borrow wording from a friend who is a super fan, he provided the soundtrack for a lot of people's lives. How big of a loss is this?
Well, it's huge. I mean, you're right about all of that. And I think every single person in this state of Wisconsin alone, let alone the country, but really this state, very much feels the same way. I think we're all feeling such an emotional loss. I mean, in my opinion, he is sports in the state of Wisconsin. He is the history. If you just picked one person and said, this is Wisconsin sports in its history, it would be Bob Uecker. There's just no two ways about it. His lifelong impact, I mean, I don't know. I'm still, dreading the day we go to the ballpark for the first time this spring, and he's not going to be there. He's not going to be in the booth. It's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking about that. And, he really transcended baseball. You didn't have to be a baseball fan. He was in movies. He was in Major League and Mr. Belvedere, and he was a regular guest on Johnny Carson's show.
Omnipresent.
He really was. And so it is a profound loss, and it's hard to imagine who can fill those shoes. Yeah,
I wouldn't want to.
Well, They're never going to be filled. Let's just put it that way. There's just no way. Nobody could tell a story. Bob didn't tell jokes as much as he told stories. He was. We go in broadcast terms. He could never be the soundbite. He would be the show. You know what I mean? He couldn't tell anything in a short amount of time. He needed a lot of time to tell a story, and you were engaged. That's for sure. And I think that's what we're really going to miss. His play-by-play is Hall of Fame material, but his stories are historic, and they're comical. They're funny. I don't know, man. There's just so many ways of putting this. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. The loss we're all going to have with this guy not around.
Well, the Brewers have a guardian angel this year.
Yes.
Maybe this is going to be our year. You never know what could happen. But Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Great to talk to you and share some memories. It's going to take a while to let this one sink in. Our love,
Indeed.
Our love
Time for a Miller Lite.
Yes. Yeah, crack open a Miller Lite, put out your Brewers flag, and stay inside because it's cold out.
Thank you so much, Craig.
You got it.
And with more on the weather, Blaze is here. We have a warm-up, but just a little flash of one.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too used to the warmer temperatures because they're out of here by Saturday after climbing into those upper 30s to low 40s on Friday. We had a nice little warm-up today, even warmer temperatures tomorrow, and then we cool on down starting this weekend. Alert day conditions, though, Sunday through Tuesday. Tuesday continues to be looking like it's going to be not only the coldest morning in terms of temperatures, but also in terms of wind chill values as well. So we're going to go from those upper 30s to low 40s Friday afternoon, 40s as far north as Camp Douglas, Watoma, and then very quickly we cool on down. Our temperatures will fall throughout your Saturday. By Sunday, we're into the Arctic air, but the heart of that Arctic air doesn't move in until Monday overnight into Tuesday. That's when our actual air temperatures will be well below zero, and then our wind chill factor will be even further below zero. What wind chill is essentially taking your body heat and moving it off in the direction of the wind, and so you're losing a lot more heat because you have to regenerate it as the wind continues to pull that kind of bubble of heat away from you. So waking up Monday, it's going to feel anywhere between 20 to 25 degrees below zero, and then as we go into your Tuesday morning, 30 to 35 degrees below zero. But those are not the coldest wind chills the Madison area has recorded over the years. In fact, we've seen wind chill values 50 degrees and below, especially in the 80s. A nice stretch of these coldest wind chill values were recorded between 1982 and 1985. Our coldest wind chill value was back on January 20th, so kind of around the time that we're experiencing our Arctic blast this year. It was 54 degrees below zero for a wind chill back on January 20th, 1985. So it was a cold wind chill then, and it's all because all this air is coming out of the Arctic. We've got to make room for it and allow warmer air to replace it. So where we see these greens, that's where that colder air previously was. But as we go into your Monday afternoon, that's when that cold air is going to be overhead with, again, the coldest wind chills and temperatures expected Monday night into Tuesday. No snow in the forecast, so that ice is only going to continue to remain thick enough for ice skaters, anglers to get out on area lakes. With temperatures in the 40s, it may be a little bit dicey in some areas where the ice is not thick enough. So again, it has to be at least 4 inches thick to support you, but no ice is 100% safe. But we will certainly rebuild that ice as we go into next week. There's a look at your 10-day forecast. Overnight lows Monday night, right around 11 degrees below zero.
Okay, so you've heard the term VR, virtual reality.
Well, in this case, it could mean virtual rodent. Check this out. Researchers developed tiny VR headsets to learn more about a mouse's memory. Scientists say it seems like the mice believe they're in a realistic situation, which can be very beneficial for different experiments.
I am fascinated by this. Look at the little goggles. All right, virtual rodents. We'll be right back. Tomorrow on Live at 4, with just days left before a law that would ban TikTok goes into effect, we're talking with a UW expert about what the Supreme Court could do to stop it. And later on News 3 Now at 6, how the NFL is preparing to keep the draft secure this year while it's held in Green Bay. Thanks for watching Live at 4 today. We'll see you back here tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.